Hey everyone, my name is Baggy and today I'll be making a cosplay of my own OC. This OC is one that I talk about fairly often, and if you've been subscribed for a while you probably recognise him. It's Ash. Ash has been my main OC since I was 8, and he was actually one of the first OCs I ever made. He has a pink bunny hat and wears a mask, but not in most pictures I draw of him. I just like drawing his face. I decided to crochet the bunny hat, and it was pretty simple since I'd already made a larger one beforehand. This one was grey and blue though, so it wouldn't work for Ash and it was just too big. I'll tag a tutorial below, but I just want to note I completely winged mine. But I imagine if you followed the one that I linked, then you could easily recreate it. Ash was originally a Warrior Cats OC. Not in the universe or anything. I was just super obsessed with the series and I wanted to make my own cat OC. And also I was mega in love with Puss in Boots and would literally watch Shrek 2 and Puss in Boots movie whenever I was within range of a TV. It's not even funny. But yeah, Ash was a ginger cat, definitely voiced by Antonio Banderas. And for some reason he was an inventor. I think I watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and was like, that's so cool. Like, that was his main thing, and that has never been his thing since. He was also in his 30s or something, and he lived in a badger hole. Just a reminder, he was a cat, okay? He wasn't just this like 30-year-old guy living in a hole. My other OC was the protagonist of the story, and she was called Ginger. And she was a black cat, I believe? I want to say she looked like Kitty Softpaws, but I have a feeling I changed her appearance so it wasn't a complete copy, because, you know, 8-year-old me was definitely aware of copyright laws. The story was that Ginger was bullied out of her house by other cats that lived in her owner's town. She couldn't live there anymore, so fled to the woods. It's not mentioned at all at the beginning. She had a belt with a sword in it, with the literal crown jewels on it. I no idea why. I think she believed it was a family heirloom of some kind. But she's looking around the woods, she's trying to find a place to live, and she finds a badger hole, and thinking it's deserted, she goes in, hoping to make it her home. Unlucky for Ginger, it's not deserted. Ash lives there. She's completely wowed by his inventions, and he doesn't notice her at first until she like coughs or something. I don't know, I wasn't very creative. And he's so chill about seeing her, it's really weird. I think I wanted him to be kind of suave and chilled. Ginger argues that she wants the badger hole. I don't know why she didn't just look for another one. I think she looked for days at this point. And Ash is like, nah girlfriend, it's mine. And so they settle that whoever wins a freaking sword fight wins the badger hole. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this is his entire house. And she's like, you know, I'm gonna fight you for it. And he's like, okay, bet. So Ash has also a sword, of course, and they fight it out. But they're both as good as each other and they draw, which also doesn't make sense because Ginger was in Warrior Cat terms, a kitty pet. In our terms, just a house cat. So it doesn't make any sense that she could I mean, they're cats. They're cats. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. They decide it's only fair that they live together, but dun dun dun! Is that romance I smell? Of course it is. It's a Baggy Bleach story. Why would it not have romance in it? They live together and they grow closer and closer until they have to leave their home because trees are being chopped down around them and it was unsafe. Can I just remind everyone that I was 8 when I wrote this? I don't want anyone thinking this is a new thing that I'm proudly revealing. I mean, I still remember every plot point, so clearly it slaps. Ash and Ginger managed to have a horse and cart, very Puss in Boots of me, and they rode away from their beloved home, only to be kidnapped on their journey. Ginger wakes up in an evil cat's lair. I can't remember anything about the evil cat, but he wanted Ginger's crown jewels and to marry her so that the crown jewels were rightfully his. And I think this is like the human queen's crown jewels at the time, obviously. It's not even cat crown jewels, it was literally Queen Elizabeth's crown jewels, and my cat OC just had them in her belt, so that's good. But yeah, he wants them. There was a messed up point where Ginger realized the bag that had been put over her head when she woke up, because they were knocked out in their cart. I'm not really sure. I don't know. There's no explanation to anything. But she wakes up and a bag, is taken off her head. And she realizes that the bag is tied up with Ash's whiskers. Like, geez. Okay, so Ash isn't with her anymore. And Ginger is forced to go to this cat ball where she has to pretend to be the evil cat's fiance. But then Ash escapes to save the day, and he clicks his teeth to summon an entire army of mice. No idea where they came from. Didn't know he was like the king of mice, but I think in my head I wanted him to be like a friend of all, a hero. So mice would be like, I'll help you, bro. That was a debt repaid or something. That was the context, I think. And they fight the evil cats, but the evil cat ties Ginger up in a room and leaves her there. And the ballroom is on fire and everyone is running and the walls are collapsing down and Ginger is stuck. Then Ash saves Ginger and they escape together. It's a whole thing. It's thrilling, really. It's good. Honestly though, I'm taking the mick, but I would so eat this up. If I read this now, as a 20-year-old person, I would love it. It's so embarrassing. Think also, to just add a cherry on top, there's something to do with Ginger drinking Ash's tears to stay alive or something, but I don't know, that was so random that I can't really remember, but I feel like that was a point. But yeah, that's Ash's original story in all its glory. Remember the notebook that I wrote it in had smears of clay and mud because I lived in a caravan in the woods at the time and was homeschooled, so all I did was roll around in this muddy clay hole that my dad had made. And I would just write all day. Now I have finished his hat, and then I have to find a way to make his mask. And now this cosplay makes no sense in the context of what I just told you. I originally wanted to 3D model the mask, but it makes way more sense for his mask to be paper, and I will get into that. In Ash's next story, he was the son of a lord, Vincent Sparrow, and it was a show, honestly. He's a human this time, and the world he lives in is divided into dark side and the bright side. He's a Darksider, and Darksiders' lives were exceptionally harder than Brightsides, since Brightsiders were rich and privileged, and the Darksiders were left in poverty and misery. Ash falls in love with the daughter of Lord Grey, which is the Lord of the Bright Side. Ash's dad is the Lord of the Dark Side. You see where this is going. The daughter of the Lord is called Effie. Yes, it was inspired by Skins, but this was before Skins was huge on TikTok, and so I felt gutted that then Effie became really, really popular, because I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. And she was definitely an inspiration of Catherine Zeta-Jones in The Mask of Zorro, which then ties into just another Puss in Boots reference, because Puss in Boots is referencing Zorro. My stories are a mush of just The Mask of Zorro and Prince of Egypt and Pirates of the Caribbean. Lord Grey adopted Effie because he was in love with her mother, who was a Brightsider. Her mother chose a different guy called Henry, who was a Darksider. Henry and her mother had Effie, and Lord Grey came and stole her when she was a baby, killing her mum out of jealous rage. He left Henry alive to live with it, because, Lord Grey isn't a great guy. And Henry is a Darksider, like I said, who actually raised Ash. So this whole story is a bit all over the place, and it kind of felt a bit weird having Henry be Ash's father figure and Effie's real dad, but Ash and Effie are like in love and stuff. I don't know, it felt kind of step-sibling-y. It was weird, but not weird at the same time. I don't know. I just didn't like it. And a similar story came around, but he was a vigilante as well. So the entire story was the same, but he was also a vigilante. And, vigilante? I actually don't know how you say that. And he wore a Hello Kitty head. He was Batman on crack. And finally, down the rabbit hole. Here I'm painting the mask, and I feel this is where it really started to tie in super nicely, and it actually started to look like Ash. This one is the big one. This is the one, okay? Down the rabbit hole is a horror. Okay, I just want to warn you, it is a horror, and so there is horror elements in this story. So Down the Rabbit Hole is a horror about Kathy, a reporter who desperately wants to be recognized at work for her talents, but is constantly taken advantage of and undermined. She has a crappy life, crappy boyfriend, and is just a ball of anxiety. She manages to get into a load of debt by scratching someone's car from work, and tries to clear her head by walking on her town's beach. Oh, also, her town is basically a resort island. You have to get a boat there, and it's just covered in arcades and rides and holiday homes and just lots of stuff that you would find at like Butlins and stuff. I don't know. I can't really think of any more. I can't think of any like islands that are dedicated to that. But yeah, in this universe there is. And they had like a mascot and everything. Very Five Nights at Freddy's-esque, but you know, an entire island. She was born and raised there and never got the courage to leave. And because houses there were so expensive, because most people had bought them to like be holiday homes so they didn't have to pay, she lives in a caravan park. She's strolling on the beach, she's thinking like, oh crap, I got so much debt, and she feels like a failure. And she finds a literal dead body on the beach near a Ferris wheel. She's terrified. She calls the police and finds that the chief police officer is an old friend of hers from a foster home. His sister had gone missing years prior. He'd become a police officer to prevent that from happening again. That was like his motive and stuff. He lived with his sister's fiance, Ash Sparrow. Dun dun dun! Ash is just a farmer and he lives... Sorry, this is really funny to read. Ash is just a farmer and he lives in a shed next to the house where the police officer lives. It's a nice shed though, okay? We gotta pay Ash some respect. It's a nice shed. I don't like the memories in that house where the police officer lives because that's where he lived with his fiance. And he's riddled with guilt from the disappearance of his fiance and keeps seeing a guy in a bunny hat staring at him at night in the fields, which is weird because it's him. Ash didn't have an amazing childhood like most OCs, and he was raised by Vincent Prescott. You know what is going? He was a drug lord. So yeah, Ash's biological father owed Vincent lots of money, and Vincent ended up killing him along with Ash's mother and baby sister. Super brutal. Ash was then adopted by Vincent and made to live in a warehouse where Vincent taught him how to dispose of the bodies that had overdosed on the drug that Vincent was spreading. I think Vincent was just spreading it like, oh, it's the new Xanax or something. I don't know. He was just like, it helps with your anxiety. But he wanted it to be a street drug, basically. He didn't really want it to be like medical because I think he believed he could make more money off it, which he did. So Ash was like the cleanup kid. He'd bring the bodies in, and yeah, you don't really need to know. One thing to note is that Ash was very attached to a scrappy pink bunny hat he found as a kid. He was wearing it the day his parents died and continued to wear it years on. He also wore a paper plate mask that he'd made because it made him feel safe from his dad, who would drink and shout a lot, and it would hurt his ears and he just didn't like it. So he had the bunny hat and the mask. Vincent had his own family with 2 sons, one called Jimmy, who was a similar age to Ash, and Ash found out about Jimmy and became more and more jealous that Vincent would spend more time with Jimmy than Ash. And when Ash got older, he concocted a plan to dispose of Jimmy in order to take his place and have Vincent prefer him because he's, alive. This made sense to Ash since he had an incredibly distorted view on reality at this point. And I guess he continues to because he's also not a great guy anymore. He did his plan, hiding Jimmy's body where no police could find it. And in the story, Kathy actually finds it. Spoiler alert, she finds it. And Ash is not pleased about it. But he knew she would, so it's okay. I think he kind of intended for her to find it. Vincent found out that Ash had killed him. He didn't know where the body was at this point, since, like I said, police couldn't find it. And he swore that if he ever saw Ash again, he would kill him himself. He couldn't bring himself to kill Ash right then and there because he'd raised Ash and grown kind of fond of him, even though he'd only gone to see him at a few visits and stuff, but he just couldn't bring himself to kill him. So he was like, you gotta go. I never want to see you again. You literally killed my son. I hate you. It was Vincent's first weakness with him. And after that, the drug that Vincent was marketing, I actually can't remember the name of it. Black Star. I think it's called the Black Star. but I feel like that name is on something else, so I don't know how much I could use that. That whole thing then just crashed and dissolved after that happened because Vincent was not in the headspace to be a criminal. But I don't think he ever got caught. I think he hired someone to just clean it all up, and there hadn't been cases of that drug in a long time. And then when Kathy started to look around, it was being released again, and I wonder who was releasing it. Ash used his skills that Vincent had taught him on the farm. Well, no, Vincent didn't teach him on a farm, that'd be quite funny. But like, he used his skills on the farm, like cleaning up animal remains. After his fiancée disappeared due to an unfortunate accident, which didn't actually have anything to do with Ash, I want to add. I'm not going to say what it was just because that would be a big spoiler for the book if you ever did want to read it. It's not available right now, but I'm thinking of one day making it available and making it a comic and then making it an animation. He wanted revenge. Ash wanted revenge on whoever was involved in his fiancée's disappearance. Over the years, he slowly killed every person involved, and the body that Kathy found on the beach, that was one of them. Kathy takes on the story / investigation and gets closer and closer to finding out Ash is the killer. All the while befriending him since he lives with her childhood friend. Yeah, more drama. She doesn't know for a very long time that Ash, who she's literally just hanging out with because she's at her friend's house and he's living in the shed next door, she doesn't know that she's hunting him down. It's very like Killing Eve kind of thing, but she's just chilling out with him. She like spends Christmas with him. So that's his story. There is another story featuring him called We Escape, which also includes Ash and Kathy, but that was really dark and we don't talk about it. It's kind of irrelevant for now. Ash becomes a demon due to the hatred and negativity he held while he was alive and causes chaos over the world where my new characters live, Esther and Eddie. Yeah, he's never really gone. But okay, my cosplay is done. I hope you found the stories interesting, and what do you think of the Ash cosplay? He wears pretty normal clothes, so luckily I can just wear cargo pants and a grey t-shirt and I'm good to go. Also, here's a 3D model my friend made of him. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Just looking at the window.